Our brain evolved over millions of years in layers, one on top of the other, a bit like a cake. Each layer got more and more complex, adding new skills and abilities. The layers get all mixed together and impact on each other. When all the layers are working, we make our best decisions. But when we're faced with tension, conflict, and stress, we often tend to shut down our higher layers so we don't get overwhelmed by everything that's happening. So let's have a look at the layers. At the bottom is the layer of our body, and that's just about keeping us alive. And this is mainly done in the brain stem, right in the middle of our brain. Now, if you look at the brain of reptiles like snakes and lizards, that's their whole brain. So they're only capable of rapid, automatic, instinctual responses that's enough to keep them alive in the moment, but does not give them the ability to learn. The next layer adds emotions. By feeling, I can know whether I want to move towards something or move away. It allows learning to happen. Emotions arise in the limbic system, which is wrapped around the midbrain. And this is the layer of mammals like cats, dogs, and horses, because they have a limbic system. They feel emotion just like us. Emotions tend to only last for a short period of time, maybe minutes. But what they can't do is look into the future. So that's why we need the next layer. This is the layer of thinking. Because with thinking, we can remember the past and we can imagine the future. We can avoid futures we don't want and work towards creating the futures we do want. We can solve problems. The thinking layer is much more complex again, but it offers a far bigger range of ways to respond to things that happen. Thinking arises out of the prefrontal cortex, which is wrapped around the limbic system, which in turn is wrapped around the midbrain. The next layer is the social layer, and that's also situated in the prefrontal cortex, where we use our ability to think so that we can communicate with other people, we can share ideas, we can collaborate on projects, we can make rules that help us live together. We can feel empathy when we can imagine how somebody else might be experiencing the world, and we can change our behavior to fit in with what others need. The thinking and social layers are again more complex. They use more energy up, and they are slower to gather the information together to decide what to do. The prefrontal cortex that organizes the thinking and social layers of the brain is divided into two sides, the left brain and the right brain. Now they're joined together so that we have one whole mind. The left brain is better at tasks that are already known and require logical thinking, like maths and science. We tend to concentrate hard when we're making the left brain work. In contrast to that, the right brain is better at new tasks. It's good at thinking outside the box and being creative. So we tend to use that when we're making art, poetry, or music. And it tends to work best when we're in a relaxed state of mind. There are times when a particular layer of the cake should be in control. If my life is in immediate danger, my brainstem will best help me to respond immediately and stay alive. My left brain will help me to fill out my tax form. In general, however, what we want is to be using our whole brain. It becomes like an orchestra with lots of different instruments all playing their own tune, but when they work in together, they create a whole new sound that you could never imagine just from hearing the individual instruments. When we feel stressed or anxious, overwhelmed or under pressure, it becomes too hard to keep our whole brain together in harmony. In order to simplify the work the brain must do, it will sometimes shut down parts of the brain that use the most energy. The problem with this is that shutting down a part of the brain also shuts down its capacity to generate effective decision making. The first to shut down is the relaxed right brain. You'll remember a time when you were struggling to think about a problem, thinking how to solve it, and you were using your left brain and you couldn't find an answer. And then you would have given up and went off to do something else, might have had a cup of coffee. As you relax, the right brain gets turned on again, and then suddenly out of nowhere, you knew what the answer was. If the brain still can't cope, it then shuts down the left brain, then the thinking, then the emotions, right down to the basic survival brain. So we try first of all to solve problems by communicating with other people and cooperating. When that fails, we tend to drop to the thinking level, where we try to convince others that our ideas are right. When thinking fails, we drop down to the emotion, which might include screaming and yelling, and then finally down to a pure body reaction like fighting. What we want to do then is to find ways to keep as much of our brain still functioning, We want to keep ourselves in a relaxed, calm state of mind where our thinking is clear and our emotions are reasonably under control. Things like meditation, relaxation, prayer, music, spending time in nature really help us to reconnect back to ourselves and to our whole world.